Ladies and gentlemen, life is a tapestry of joy and sorrow, triumph and trial. But if there's one thing life guarantees us all, it's pain. Not because life is cruel, but because growth demands sacrifice. And if we study closely the sorrowful mysteries, we find not just a story of pain, but a roadmap for personal transformation. These mysteries aren't just moments in history. They are metaphors for every struggle we face, every battle we endure, every weakness we must overcome. Let's dive into what they really teach us. The agony in the garden is not just a moment in history. It's a mirror to the private battles each of us must face before we step into the light. Before you face the world, you must conquer yourself. Because the greatest war is not out there. It's in here. Fear, doubt, loneliness. These are not weaknesses. They are the raw materials of transformation. In that quiet garden, in the still of the night, the weight of what's to come presses in. Not with noise, but with silence. And it's in that silence that our real selves are tested. Have you ever been there, when your purpose is clear, but your strength feels small? When the path is laid before you, but every step feels heavy? That is your garden. That is your moment of agony. And it doesn't come when you're weak. It comes right before your strength is required. That's the irony of it. We think the hardest part is doing the thing. But often, the hardest part is saying yes in the dark, when no one is watching, when no applause follows, when you're not even sure you'll make it through. It's easy to move forward when you're certain. But certainty is a luxury not afforded to leaders, dreamers, and those called to something higher. This is the moment where most people quit, not at the finish line, but before they even begin. They look at the mountain and shrink back. They hear the inner voice whispering, "You're not enough." And they listen, but here's the truth. That voice, it's not your enemy. It's the voice you must face and defeat. Because once you conquer yourself, your fear, your doubt, your hesitation, nothing outside you can stop you. Growth is painful because it begins with surrender. And the first thing we must surrender is the illusion of comfort. That somehow life should be easy. That destiny should feel good. It won't, but it will be worth it. The garden teaches us that you can feel afraid and still move forward. You can feel sorrow and still stay the course. You can sweat through the pain and still say yes. That's where courage is born, not in bravado, but in quiet obedience to a calling greater than your feelings. So when you find yourself in your own garden, pacing with uncertainty, wrestling with purpose, remember it's not weakness. It's preparation. You are not breaking down, you are breaking through, and no victory in life is real until it is first won in the unseen world of your own heart. This is the agony, and this is where champions are made. The scourging at the pillar is not just a moment of physical pain. It is the living symbol of what it means to endure what must be endured in order to grow. Discipline hurts, growth hurts, but so does staying the same. The question is not whether pain will be part of your life. The question is, which kind of pain are you willing to choose? There's the pain of discipline, and then there's the pain of regret. One is sharp, temporary, and clean. The other lingers, festers, and robs you of the life you could have lived. We live in a world that tells us to avoid pain at all costs. But the truth is, avoiding pain is what keeps us stuck. Avoiding the workout, the hard conversation, the early morning, the late night. Avoiding the discipline. But discipline is not punishment. Discipline is love in action. It's the decision to put your future self above your current comfort. Every success story has a pillar, a place of struggle, a place of soreness, a place of tears. We like the results, but we resist the process. We want the crown, but not the scourge, the glory, but not the grind. But pain has a purpose. It's not senseless. It forges you. It toughens your resolve. It wakes up parts of you that have been asleep. When you commit to growth, you sign up for discomfort, not because you enjoy suffering, but because you understand what's on the other side. The greatest performers, leaders, builders, they all have scars. Not just physical, mental, emotional, they've been through the pillar and they didn't run. You see, pain without purpose is torment, but pain with purpose, that's transformation. When you stand firm through your own scourging moments when life hits hard, when others don't believe, when your body wants to quit and your mind says no more, that's when character is carved into your soul. You don't become resilient by reading about resilience. You become resilient by surviving what should have broken you. And yes, it hurts. Yes, it leaves marks. But those marks, they're not shameful. They're proof that you didn't quit. Proof that you showed up when it mattered. So don't curse the process. Don't run from the pain. Don't numb it, hide from it, or pretend it's not real. Face it. Feel it. Let it shape you. Because pain is not your enemy. It's the price you pay for becoming who you were meant to be. And every moment of discipline you embrace today is one moment of regret you won't have to live with tomorrow. The crowning with thorns is not just a moment of mockery. It is a lesson in what it means to be misunderstood, misjudged, and still remain unmoved. People will misunderstand you. They'll mock your vision. They'll take what's sacred to you and try to reduce it to a joke. And it will hurt, not just on the surface, but deep down in the soul. Because there's nothing easy about standing tall when the world is trying to cut you down. There's nothing painless about being laughed at when you're trying to build something meaningful. But that's the test, not when people cheer for you, but when they try to tear you down. The thorns were a crown not of honor, but of insult, not given in respect, but in ridicule, and yet it was still worn. Worn in silence, worn in dignity, worn with the kind of strength that doesn't need to fight back to prove its power. Your crown isn't made by critics. It's forged in quiet resilience. It's built in the moments when you refuse to let other people's opinions shape your identity. When you choose purpose over popularity. When you walk through the laughter, the gossip, the slander head held high. They may laugh at you, but that doesn't mean they understand you. And their misunderstanding is not your problem to solve. You are not defined by their words. You are defined by your response. When they crown you with thorns, don't hand them your peace. When they mock you, don't surrender your mission, because ridicule has a way of revealing what's real. If you quit because of criticism, you weren't committed. If you fold under pressure, you weren't finished forming. Let the mocking strengthen your resolve. Let the humiliation refine your focus. Let the crown of thorns remind you that greatness rarely comes dressed in applause. Sometimes, your highest call will come with your deepest rejection. Sometimes, your most powerful moment will come in your weakest hour. Don't be surprised when the world doesn't get it. Your purpose isn't up for a vote. Your calling doesn't need consensus. Keep building, keep rising, keep walking, not because it's easy, but because it's right. You don't need approval to make an impact. You don't need permission to walk in truth. You don't need validation to know your value. The ones who mock you today may one day be the ones asking how you did it. And when they do, you won't need to say a word. Your life will speak for itself. Wear the crown, even if it's made of thorns, because even in mockery, there is meaning. Even in humiliation, there is hidden glory. The carrying of the cross is not just a picture of suffering. It's a portrait of endurance. A symbol of what it means to carry the weight of a calling, a dream, a purpose that is bigger than yourself. Every dream has a weight. Every purpose has a price. And if you've been given something meaningful to do in this world, you'll feel it on your back. Responsibility is heavy. Commitment is heavy. Leadership, vision, legacy. None of it is light, but don't wish it were lighter. Wish you were stronger, because the weight is not a punishment. The weight is the evidence that you're carrying something that matters. That you're walking a road most people wouldn't dare to take. And yes, the road is long, the path is steep, and there will be moments when it feels like you can't take one more step. But remember this, the burden is proof that the dream is real. People don't carry crosses for empty ideas. They carry them for causes worth dying for families they love, for legacies they want to leave, for truths they refuse to abandon. If your dream feels too heavy, you're not failing. You're just facing the reality of what it costs to carry something eternal. There will be days when your body is tired, your mind is foggy, and your heart feels broken. You'll stumble, you'll fall, you'll question everything. But those are not signs to quit. Those are signs that you're doing something worthwhile. The cross didn't disappear because it was difficult. It was carried, step by step, breath by breath, with blood, sweat, and unwavering love. Some people will look at your burden and call it foolish. They'll wonder why you don't just drop it and walk away. But they don't see what you see. They don't hear the whisper in your soul that says, "This matters. Keep going. It's worth it." You're not carrying the weight to prove something to the world. You're carrying it because you said yes to something sacred. And every time you choose to pick it up again, even after a fall, even after a heartbreak, even after you've been betrayed or abandoned, you become stronger. Not just in body, but in soul. Strength doesn't come from ease. It comes from pressure, from perseverance, from staying faithful when everything inside you says run. There's power in every step you take with that weight on your back. There's growth in every moment you refuse to quit. There's meaning in every ounce of pain that you carry with intention. And sometimes, when the load gets too heavy, help will come. A stranger may step in, even just for a moment, to remind you that you're not alone. That doesn't mean the journey is easy, but it does mean you were never meant to carry it all by yourself. So don't envy the ones who appear carefree. Don't idolize the path that looks easy. That road rarely leads anywhere worth going. Instead, take pride in your burden, not in a prideful way, but in the quiet confidence of someone who knows they're walking in purpose. And when your knees buckle, when the crowd watches in silence or scorn, when the road stretches longer than you imagined, remember this. The one who carries the cross is not weak. The one who carries the cross is the strongest one on the road. Because they've chosen to carry when the easier choice would have been to quit. And one day, you'll look back at this journey, at every step, every wound, every scar, and realize the weight didn't crush you. It created you. The crucifixion is not only a moment of death, it is a moment of transformation, a sacred threshold where the old self is stripped away to make room for something eternal. True transformation begins when ego dies, when pride falls, when you stop fighting to protect what no longer serves you and start surrendering to what's waiting to be born within you. This isn't the kind of change you can fake. It's not surface level. It's not cosmetic. It's deep. It's painful. It's total. The crucifixion isn't just about enduring pain. It's about letting go of the masks, letting go of the need to be right, letting go of the identity built on fear, insecurity, and control. We all carry pieces of ourselves that cannot enter the next chapter, attitudes, habits, beliefs, attachments, and the truth is, those things won't leave quietly. They cling to you like shadows. They whisper that you'll fall apart without them. But they are not you. You were not made to live small. You were not made to live in fear. You were not made to be ruled by ego and driven by the opinions of others. At some point, we all reach our own cross. A place where something inside us must die, so something greater can rise. The crucifixion is where surrender meets purpose, where pain meets power, where the letting go becomes the rising up. You don't evolve by adding more. You evolve by releasing what no longer aligns, and that process feels like death, because it is. a death of the false self, a death of the illusion, a death of the need to control every outcome. There is no resurrection without crucifixion, no breakthrough without surrender, no new life without the loss of the old one. But in that moment of surrender, you find something unexpected. You find peace, not because the pain goes away, but because you are no longer resisting it. You are allowing it to do its work, to carve out space for what's next. The cross is not the end. It's the passageway. It's the place where the truth of who you are breaks through everything that pretended to be you. When you allow the old self to die, you create space for humility, for clarity, for grace. You begin to walk differently, not with arrogance, but with quiet confidence, not with fear, but with rooted courage. The world may not understand what you gave up. They may not see what you've laid down, but you will know, you'll feel it, and the strength that rises in you won't be built on image, it will be built on truth, on the kind of integrity that cannot be shaken. So if you find yourself in the middle of your own crucifixion, don't rush it, don't numb it, don't run from it, stay with it. Let it burn away what needs to go. Let it strip off the layers that have hidden you for too long. Yes, it hurts, but it heals. Yes, it breaks, but it rebuilds. Yes, it takes something from you, but it gives back something more. And what you become on the other side will not be a better version of your old self. It will be someone entirely new, someone rooted in purpose, freed from pretense, alive in spirit. The crucifixion is not just about dying, it's about becoming, and what you become will be stronger, wiser, quieter, and unstoppable. Endurance is the bridge between vision and victory. It is the long span that keeps your dream from collapsing. It stretches across seasons of doubt, storms of challenge, deserts of delay. Without that bridge, a vision remains a sketch in your mind. With it, the impossible walks into reality on steady feet. We celebrate the moment someone breaks the tape. We replay the highlight, the confetti, the jubilant roar, but the camera rarely lingers on the lonely miles before dawn. It seldom shows the small, unseen choices that kept the dream alive. Yet that hidden grind is the real hero of every victory story. Those who succeed are not the ones who had it easy. They are the ones who kept going when every reason said stop. Comfort never built a champion. Convenience never shaped a pioneer. Endurance does not ask if the path is pleasant. It asks only if the destination is worth the price. Vision whispers possibility. Endurance answers with action. Vision paints pictures. Endurance lays bricks. Vision lights the torch. Endurance carries it through wind and rain. The moment you commit, resistance appears. Obstacles test the sincerity of your intention. Every setback asks, do you really want this? Every delay asks, will you still believe tomorrow? Endurance replies, yes. Again and again, until the question retires. Some days endurance looks heroic. Power strides, determined eyes, inspirational music. Most days it looks ordinary, quiet repetition, mundane tasks, silent resilience. It is answering emails when motivation is flat. It is refining a plan after another rejection letter arrives. It is trusting the process when results hide behind the horizon. Endurance does not mean never resting. It means resting with purpose so you can rise again. It means pausing, not quitting, adjusting, not abandoning. Think of a bridge hanging over deep water. Steel cables bear tension because they were tempered by fire. Your character is forged the same way in adversity's furnace. Every hardship adds another strand of strength to your resolve. You become sturdy enough to carry not just yourself, but others. That is why leaders must cultivate endurance. Their persistence builds safe passage for entire teams and communities. The opposite of endurance is resignation. Resignation dismantles dreams before they mature. It tears planks from the bridge until the gap is impassable. Many stand on the riverbank, holding brilliant ideas, staring at broken boards. They tell stories about timing, luck, and external forces. Yet deep inside they know the truth. They stopped too soon. Endurance is not blind stubbornness. It is intelligent persistence, adapting without surrendering the core purpose. It evaluates feedback, learns, pivots, and presses forward. It silences ego enough to adjust course while guarding the destination. When fatigue whispers lies, endurance speaks facts. It reminds you why you started, who you serve, what is at stake. It remembers promises you made to your future self. It honors them in private, long before anyone applauds in public. Someday the bridge will meet the far shore. The victory will seem overnight to casual spectators. Smile, because you will know the nights, seasons, and years it required. You will know that the turning point was not a grand event. It was the quiet decision to endure, made repeatedly in the dark. Keep making that decision. Your vision deserves the journey, and victory is already waiting, because endurance is a habit, and habits shape destinies long before applause appears. Build that habit in the small hours when no one is watching but future you. Each repetition pours concrete into the footing of your bridge. Each disciplined morning secures another beam against the storms to come. Doubt may splash against the pylons, but it cannot sweep away what perseverance anchors. Even setbacks become construction material when you study them for lessons and pivot with wisdom. The journey will invite critics, but critics are tourists. Only builders know the map. Keep your hands on the tools and your eyes on the horizon that called you forth. Day by day, step by step, the span grows until it touches solid ground. Then you will cross, not as a weary survivor, but as an architect of possibility. From that vantage, you will invite others to believe, build, and keep walking toward their own victories. Pain isn't the enemy, it's the instructor. It's the voice that whispers truth when comfort is busy lying to you. It shows up not to break you, but to build something in you that ease never could. Suffering teaches what comfort cannot. Comfort tells you everything is fine, even when you're drifting. Pain snaps you awake. It points to the wound, to the gap, to the place where something must change. Most people fear pain. They run from it, hide from it, numb it with distraction. But those who grow learn to lean in, not to love the pain, but to respect what it offers. Pain is a mirror. It reflects what's unresolved, what's weak, what's out of alignment. And if you're willing to face it, you'll find it's not just a mirror. It's also a map. It shows you where you've been avoiding the work. It reveals what still holds power over you. And in that revelation, there is freedom. Let pain be your teacher, not your master. A teacher speaks truth to move you forward. A master controls and limits. Pain becomes a master only when you let it go unchallenged. But when you sit with it, when you listen, you begin to hear its lessons. You begin to grow from it. You begin to transform. The athlete doesn't curse the burning in their muscles. They know it's proof of progress. The artist doesn't despise the struggle to create. They know the struggle is part of what makes it meaningful. And the leader, the parent, the builder, they all learn that pain is part of the path. It's not the punishment, it's the passage. It's not the enemy, it's the entrance to depth, to strength, to clarity, because pain has a way of sharpening focus. You stop wasting time on what doesn't matter. You stop pretending you're fine when you're not. You stop playing small when you know you're meant for more. And that's why pain, though it hurts, is a gift in disguise. It calls you out of comfort. It stretches you past the limits you once believed were permanent. It humbles you enough to grow. It strips you enough to see clearly. And sometimes it brings you to your knees, not to break you, but to root you. Pain invites you to go deeper, to ask better questions, to become more honest, to stop seeking shortcuts and start building strength. It's not just about enduring it, it's about using it. Let it shape your values. Let it refine your vision. Let it teach you patience, resilience, empathy. Because once you've suffered, really suffered, you can no longer judge others at a glance. You carry softness where there used to be pride. You lead with understanding, not ego. And when you walk through pain with intention, you emerge with authority. The kind of authority that comes from having been in the fire and walking out forged, not burned. You become the kind of person others turn to when they're in their own season of pain. Not because you have all the answers, but because you've survived the questions. Because you listened, you learned, you changed. Pain doesn't have to define you, but it can refine you. It can teach you what matters. It can teach you who you are when everything else is stripped away. You're not weak for feeling it. You're not broken for wrestling with it. You're human, and the human experience includes pain. But you get to choose what it does in you. You can let it close you off, or you can let it open you up. You can let it make you bitter, or let it make you wise. You can let it crush your spirit, or let it strengthen your soul. So the next time pain knocks on your door, don't slam it shut. Don't panic. Don't pretend you're fine. Instead, pause, listen, ask what it's here to teach. Then, with courage, take the lesson and keep walking. You'll be stronger for it, not because pain disappeared, but because you grew through it. Every mystery hides a message. Every shadow contains something waiting to be seen. Every sorrow carries a whisper that most people are too distracted to hear. Behind every sorrow is a secret, a truth that only pain can reveal. A treasure that comfort can't uncover. Growth, strength, purpose, these are not always found in the spotlight. They don't show up during applause or in moments of ease. They're found in silence, in the questions that don't have answers yet. In the nights when everything feels like it's falling apart, but it's in that unraveling that something deeper is being woven, something stronger, something wiser, something more real. Most people try to rush through pain. They numb it, they run from it. They label it as bad and push it into the corner. But mystery doesn't unfold under pressure. It opens slowly, quietly, to the soul that's willing to wait, to listen, to learn. Don't just suffer or learn. If you're going to feel the weight of sorrow, let it teach you something. Let it take you deeper. Let it uncover what you forgot was there. That's the message hidden in the mystery. Not that sorrow is good, but that it's not meaningless. Not that pain is enjoyable, but that it can be useful. Every mystery, every sorrow, every trial, it's not random, it's a door. And behind that door is something you would have never looked for if everything had stayed comfortable. Sometimes you learn things in the fire that no book, no podcast, no speech could ever teach. You learn what matters, you learn what lasts, you learn who you are without the filters, and more importantly, you learn who you're becoming. You begin to see the strength inside you that you didn't know was there. You begin to notice how much you've carried, and how much more you're capable of. You learn how to stand when nothing feels stable. How to breathe through heartbreak, how to keep moving, not because it's easy, but because your spirit refuses to quit. That's the power of mystery. It doesn't hand you answers on a silver tray. It invites you to go find them. To dig, to sit with the uncomfortable, to grow roots so deep that no storm can rip you out of purpose. And the longer you stay in it with your eyes open, your heart awake, the more you start to see patterns. The more you start to recognize that even the hardest chapters have hidden wisdom. It's easy to see the lesson in hindsight, but the invitation is to learn while you're still in it, to stay soft while it's still sharp, to stay curious while it still hurts, because when you do, you emerge with more than scars. You emerge with insight. You emerge with clarity. You emerge with a story that can guide others. Every mystery that breaks you open also makes you more whole. Every sorrow that brings you to your knees teaches you to rise with humility. The pain becomes part of your preparation. The confusion becomes part of your wisdom. The waiting becomes part of your strength. So don't rush through the mystery. Don't fight the process. Don't judge the season before it's finished speaking. Ask what it's here to reveal. Ask what you've been too busy to notice. Ask what parts of you are ready to grow. Because what looks like a detour might be the very path you needed to become who you were meant to be. And when the sorrow passes, as it always does, you'll find you're no longer the same. You'll be deeper, wiser, more compassionate, not because you avoided the mystery, but because you entered it with your whole heart. And you came out carrying the message that only the brave ever hear. Love is the ultimate motivation. It's the reason behind the reason, the fire underneath every act of courage that truly matters. You can push through life with discipline alone. You can grind with sheer willpower. You can survive for a long time on duty, responsibility, and routine. But endurance without love is just survival. You may be moving forward, but the light inside begins to fade. You lose the why behind your work. You forget what the sacrifice is actually for. Love brings that back. Love turns routine into purpose, sacrifice into offering, struggle into something sacred. When love fuels your sacrifice, your suffering takes on new meaning. It no longer feels like punishment, it feels like devotion. You don't give up because you can't bear the pain. You keep going because the person, the mission, the dream on the other side is worth every ounce of pain. That's the power of love. It redefines pain. It reshapes the journey. It renews your energy even when your body is tired. Love makes the hard things holy. It doesn't erase difficulty, but it transforms the way you walk through it. You stop asking, "How long will this take?" And you start asking, "Who am I doing this for?" You stop thinking in terms of cost and start thinking in terms of meaning. Whether it's a parent waking early for their children, an artist pouring heart into their craft, a leader staying late to serve the team when love is the fuel, burnout becomes less likely because the soul is fed even when the body is weary. You become less concerned with recognition. You're not driven by applause anymore. You're driven by care, by the deep knowing that this work, this path, this offering of your time, your energy, your very self, it matters. Not because it's big, not because it's perfect, but because it's given in love. Love gives your suffering a purpose bigger than your ego. It gives your goals a reason greater than status or praise. It turns your sacrifices into seeds. And seeds don't scream while they grow. They break quietly in the dark, because something greater is coming. That's what love helps you remember, that this is not just about you, that the pain you endure might become someone else's healing, that your persistence today might become someone else's permission to begin. Love doesn't just make you endure more. It helps you endure differently, with grace, with gentleness, with integrity. And in moments when you want to quit, and there will be many, you return to love, and you find your strength again, because love is not soft, love is not weak, love is fierce, love is patient, love is bold enough to keep going when everything else says stop. Love doesn't always roar. Sometimes it whispers, "I'm still here, I still believe, I'm not leaving," and that whisper, even in the silence of your lowest point, can carry you forward like a thunderous anthem. So don't ignore love. Don't replace it with performance. Don't bury it beneath pride or pressure. Return to it. Listen to it. Let it lead. Because when love is at the center, everything else aligns. You lead better. You serve deeper. You endure longer. You become more. And in the end, when the dust settles and the battle is done, it won't be the trophies you remember. It will be who you loved, why you fought, and how you gave yourself, fully without holding back. That is the power of love. It turns pain into purpose. It turns sacrifice into legacy. It makes every step of the journey not just bearable but beautiful. Victory comes after the fifth mystery, not before. Not during, after. It doesn't arrive in the agony. It doesn't appear in the scourging. It hides itself through the thorns, waits through the weight of the cross, and remains silent even at the crucifixion. But it's coming. The darkest hour is just before the dawn, not by accident, not by coincidence, because that's how light proves its power, by showing up when everything seems lost. There's a reason the story takes you through sorrow. It's not to break you, it's to prepare you, to strip away the illusions, to reveal what truly matters. The fifth mystery isn't the end, it only feels like it, because endings feel final when you're standing at the tomb. But faith says, wait. Hope says, look again. Love says, this is not over. The sorrow feels loud, it echoes in your chest, it screams in your thoughts. But just beneath that noise, there's a whisper. A whisper that says, resurrection doesn't rush. Victory isn't instant, but it is inevitable if you don't give up. That's the mystery most people miss. They stop at the crucifixion. They walk away on Saturday. They don't wait for Sunday, but Sunday always comes, and when it does, what once felt like defeat reveals itself as transformation. What once looked like death was actually the seed of something eternal. Don't lose heart in the fifth mystery. Don't close the book at the most painful page. Don't confuse silence for absence. What you think is over might be where the miracle begins. The grave was never the destination. It was the doorway, the threshold, the in-between. The world may see the cross and call it failure, but heaven sees the cross and calls it foundation. The moment the old is buried so something new can rise. And rise it will, but not always as you expect, not always in the form you imagined. Victory sometimes shows up not as a crown, but as peace, not as applause, but as clarity. It's not always loud. Sometimes it's quiet strength. Sometimes it's tears that cleanse, not cries that conquer. But make no mistake, it's victory just the same, because resurrection means the sorrow did not win. The pain did not define the end. The wounds did not stop the future. You walked through hell and you didn't stay there. You stood at the edge of what you thought would break you and you rose. And that's what makes this victory different. It's not built on denial. It's built on endurance. You know what it cost. You know what it took. And you still showed up. So when others see only the cross, you'll see beyond it. You'll see the empty tomb. You'll see the stone rolled away. You'll see the morning breaking through the longest night. And you'll remember the story doesn't end in sorrow. It ends in resurrection. So if you're still in the mystery, still in the ache, still in the in-between, hold on. You are not forgotten. You are not finished. You are not forsaken. The silence will break. The light will return. The joy will rise again, not in spite of your suffering, but because you walked through it and kept believing. Victory doesn't skip the pain. It walks through it with purpose, and on the other side of the fifth mystery, there's more life than you ever imagined. So now you've heard the journey from the garden to the cross, from agony to awakening, from sorrow to strength. You've seen how every wound hides wisdom, how every burden carries a lesson, and how love, real, enduring, unshakable love, is what transforms suffering into sacred ground. The sorrowful mysteries are not just moments in history. They are mirrors. They are maps. They are your story. You are not here to escape pain. You are here to rise through it, to walk with meaning, to love with depth, to live with courage. Don't just survive. Learn, grow, become, because the dream is real. The burden is worth it. And the victory, the real, quiet, powerful victory, belongs to those who endure with purpose and rise with love. Now go and carry your cross with fire in your heart.